Retail Management, Masters of Commerce, 4th semester, Mangalore University, Session 19. Evaluating a retail store, sorry, Strategic Retail Planning, evaluating a site for locating a retail store. Learning objective, to understand about evaluating a site for locating a retail store. Session outcome, to enlighten the students, evaluate and select a specific site. Evaluating a site for locating a retail store. Having decided to locate stores in an area, the retailer's next step is to evaluate and select a specific site. In making this decision, retailers consider three factors. First one, the characteristics of the site. Second, the characteristics of the trading area for a store at the site and the estimated potential sales that can be generated by a store at the site. The first two sets of factors are typically considered in an initial screening of potential sites. The methods used to forecast store sales, the third factor, can involve a more complex analytical approach. Each of these factors is discussed in the following sections. First, site characteristics. Some characteristics of a site that affect store sales and thus are considered in selecting a site are: first one, the traffic flow past the site and accessibility to the site; second, the characteristics of the location; and third, the cost associated with locating at the site. In the following table, which tells about the site characteristics. On the left hand side, you have traffic flow and accessibility. On the right hand side, you have the restrictions with regard to those traffic flow. So, vehicular traffic has certain zoning restrictions, whereas ease of vehicular access has signage restrictions. Access to major highways have restrictions on certain tenant mix, and street congestion has certain restrictions on safety code and restrictions. And pedestrian traffic, availability of mass transit. Traffic flow and accessibility. One of the most important factors affecting store sale is the number of vehicles and the pedestrians that pass by the site or the traffic flow. When the traffic is greater, more consumers are likely to stop in and stop at the store. Thus, retailers often use traffic count measures to assess a site's attractiveness. Traffic counts are particularly important for retailers offering merchandise and services bought on impulse or on frequent trips. For example, good traffic flow and accessibility are more important for car washes and grocery stores than for destination retailers like the container store. Cato, a women's specialty store chain with more than 1,000 stores in 31 US states, when it evaluates new sites, it looks for neighborhood shopping centers that contain a discount store like Walmart or Target because these stores attract Cato's target market. Cato has found that apparel shoppers stop by their store before or after visiting the anchor discount store. More traffic flow is not always better. Rather, traffic flow is a question of balance. The site should have a substantial number of cars per day, but not so many cars that traffic congestion impedes access to the store. To assess that level of vehicular traffic, the retailer can either perform the site visits or commission a specialized firm to do the study. The number of vehicles going by the site may not tell the whole story. However, for instance, the data may need to be adjusted for the time of day. Areas congested during rush hours may have a good traffic flow during the rest of the day when most shopping takes place. The accessibility of the site, which can be as important as traffic flow, is the ease with which customers can get into and out of the site. Accessibility is greater than for sites located near major highways, on uncongested highways, and at the streets with traffic lights and lanes that enable turns into the site. Natural barriers such as rivers or mountains and artificial barriers such as railroad tracks, divided or limited access highways, or parks may also affect accessibility. These barriers' impact on a particular site primarily depends on whether the merchandise or services will appeal to customers so strongly that they cross the barrier. For example, a supermarket on one side of a divided highway with no convenient crossover point will appeal only to consumers going in one direction. In the United States, most consumers drive to shopping centers, and thus vehicular traffic is an important consideration when evaluating a site. However, pedestrian traffic flow and access by public transportation are more important for analyzing the sites in a country where consumers do not drive to shop, or for evaluating urban sites and sites within an enclosed mall. The second is the location characteristics. Some factors associated with specific locations that retailers consider when evaluating a site are parking, store visibility, and adjacent retailers. So, here, first one is with regard to the parking spaces. The amount of quality of parking facilities are critical for evaluating a shopping center and specific site within the center. On the other hand, if there aren't any enough spaces or the spaces are too far from the store, customers will be discouraged from patronizing the site and the store. On the other hand, if there are too many open spaces, the shopping center may be perceived as having unpopular stores. A standard rule of thumb is 5.5 is to 1000. That is 5 and 1/2 spaces per 1,000 square feet of retail store space for shopping center and 10 to 15 spaces per 1,000 square feet for a supermarket. Retailers need to observe the shopping center at various times of the day, week, and season. They also must consider the availability of employee parking, the proportion of shoppers using cars, parking by non shoppers, and the typical length of a shopping trip. An issue closely related to the amount of available parking facilities but extended into the shopping center itself is the relative congestion of the area. Congestion is an excess level of traffic that results in customer delays. There is an optional level of congestion for customers. Too much congestion can make shopping slow, irritate customers, and generally discourage the sales. However, a relatively high level of activity in a shopping center creates excitement and can stimulate sales. The second is the visibility or the store visibility. Visibility refers to the customer's ability to see the store from the street. Good visibility is less important for stores with a well established and loyal customer base, but most retailers still want a direct, unimpeded view of their store. In an area with a highly transient population, such as a tourist center or large city, good visibility from the road is particularly important. The third is adjacent retailers. Locations with the complementary as well as competing adjacent retailers have the potential to build traffic. Complementary retailers target the same market segment but have a different non competing merchandise offering. Have you ever noticed that competing fast food restaurants, automobile dealerships, antique dealers, or even shoe and apparel stores in a mall are located next to one another? Consumers looking for these types of merchandise are involved in convenience or comparison shopping situations. They want to be able to make their choice easily in the case of convenience shopping, or they want to have a good assortment so that they can shop around. This group to location approach is based on the approach is based on the principle of cumulative attraction, which states that a cluster of similar and complementary retailing activities will generally have the greater drawing power than isolated stores that engage in the same retailing activities. Next is restrictions and costs. Retailers may place restrictions on the type of tenants they are allowed in a shopping center in their lease agreement. Some of these restrictions can make the shopping center more attractive for a retailer. For example, a specialty men's apparel retailer may prefer a lease agreement that precludes other men's specialty apparel retailers from locating in the same center. A florist in a strip center may specify that if the grocery anchor tenant vacates the center, it can be released from its lease. Retailers would look unfavorably on a shopping center with a sign size restriction that prevented easy visibility of the store's name from the street. At the end of the next is locations with the shopping center. Locations within a shopping center affects both sales and occupancy cost. In that, the better locations have higher occupancy cost. In a strip shopping center, the locations closest to the supermarket are more expensive because they attract greater foot traffic. So, a flower shop or sandwich shop that may attract impulse buyers should be close to the supermarket. But a shoe repair store which does not cater to customers shopping or impulse could be in a lower traffic location farther away from the supermarket because customers in need of this service will seek out the store. In other words, it is a destination store. The same issues apply to evaluating locations within a multi level enclosed shopping mall. Stores that cater to consumers engaging in comparison shopping, such as shoppers buying fashionable apparel, benefit from being in more expensive locations near the department store anchors, which are destinations for comparison apparel shoppers. As apparel shoppers enter and leave the department store, they walk by and may be attracted to neighboring specialty store retailers. Another consideration is how to locate the stores that appeal to similar target markets. In essence, customers want to shop where they'll find a good assortment of merchandise. The principle of cumulative attraction applies to both stores that sell complementary merchandise and those that compete directly with one another. The second is the trade area characteristics. After identifying the several sites that have acceptable traffic flow accessibility and other location characteristics, the next step is to collect information about the trade area that can be used to forecast the sales for a store located at the site. The retailer first needs to define the trade area for the site. Once the trade area is defined, the retailer can use several different information sources to develop a detailed understanding of the nature of consumers in the site's trade area. Trade area definition. The trade area is a a trade area is a contiguous geographical area that accounts for the majority of a store's sales and customers. The primary trading area is a geographic area from which the shopping center or store site derives 50 to 70% of its customers. The secondary trading area is a geographical area of secondary importance in terms of customer sales, generating about 20 to 30% of its site's customers. The tertiary trading area or fringe includes the remaining customers who shop at the site but come from widely dispersed areas. These customers might travel an unusually long distance because they do not have comparable retail facilities closer to home, or they may drive near the store or center on their way to or from work. The best way to define the three zones is based on driving time rather than distance. Thus, the primary trading area might be defined as customers within 5 minutes driving time of the site, the secondary trading area as customers with a 10-minute drive, and the tertiary zone as customers more than 15 minutes away from the site by car. However, it is much easier to collect information about the number of people and their characteristics in the different zones by geographic distance than by driving time. Thus, retailers often define the zones by distance such as 3, 5, 10 miles away from the site rather than the driving time. Factors affecting the size of the trade area. The actual boundaries of the trade area are determined by the store's accessibility, natural and physical barriers, and the level of competition, which uh, which was already discussed. The boundaries are also affected by the type of shopping area and the type of store. Trade area size is influenced by the type of store or shopping area. A Starbucks in a central business district, for example, may have a trade area of only 2 or 3 blocks. A category specialist like Best Buy may draw customers from 10 miles away, and the container store, which is the only store of its kind in a city, might draw customers from 30 miles away. The size of the trading area is determined by the nature of the merchandise sold, the assortment offered, and the location of alternative sources for the merchandise. People go to convenience stores because they can buy products like milk and bread quickly and easily. Thus, their trade areas are relatively small. Category specialists, in contrast, offer a large choice of brands and products for which customers are engaged in comparison shopping. Thus, customers generally drive some distance to shop at these stores. A parasite store is one of that doesn't create its own traffic and though whose trade area is determined by the dominant retailer in the shopping center or retail area. A collocated dry cleaner would be a parasite store to a Walmart store because people tend to shop at the dry cleaner on the way to or from Walmart and other stores. Its business is thus derived from Walmart and other businesses in the area. Some retail experts have noted that Walmart can be a destructive force to competition in a trade area because it is so dominant. Yet some parasite stores and stores that have learned to provide product or service offerings that complement rather than compete with those of Walmart actually benefit from its presence. The other things which are related to the trade area characteristics are measuring the trade area for a retail store and the sources of information about the trade area and the competition in the trade area. The third characteristic is the third factor is estimating the potential sales for a store site. Three approaches for using information about the trade area to estimate the potential sales for a store at the location are: first one, the Huff gravity model; second, the regression analysis; and third, the analog method. First one is a Huff gravity model. Huff gravity model was already discussed in the previous session. The Huff gravity model for estimating the sales of a retail store is based on the concept of gravity. Consumers are attracted to a store location just like the Newton's falling apple was attracted to the earth. In this model, the force of the attraction is based on two factors: the size of the store and the time it takes to travel to the store. The mathematical formula will be shared later in the study material. What the formula indicates that the larger the size of the store compared with the competing store sizes, the greater the probability that a customer will shop at the location. A larger size is generally more attractive in customers' eyes because it means more merchandise assortment and variety. Travel time or distance has the opposite effect on the probability that a customer will shop at a location. The greater the travel time or distance from the consumer compared with that of competing locations, the lower the probability that the consumer will shop at the location. Generally, customers would rather shop at a close store rather than a distance one. The exponent lambda, it reflects the relative effect of travel time versus the store size. When lambda is equal to 1, the store size and travel time have an equal but opposite effect on the probability of a customer shopping at a store location. When lambda is greater than 1, the travel time has a greater effect, and when lambda is less than 1, store size has a greater effect. The value of lambda is affected by the nature of the shopping strips consumers generally take when visiting the specific type of store. For instance, travel time or distance is generally more important for convenience goods than for shopping goods because people are less willing to travel a great distance for a quart of milk than they are for a new pair of shoes. Thus, a larger value of lambda is assigned if the store being studied specializes in convenience shopping strips rather than comparison shopping trips. The value of lambda is usually estimated statistically using data that describe shopping patterns at existing stores. The second is the regression analysis. The regression analysis approach is based on the assumption that the factors that affect the sales of the existing stores in a chain will have the same impact on stores located at new sites being considered. When using this approach, the retailer employs a technique called multiple regression to estimate a statistical model that predicts sales at existing store locations. The technique can consider the effects of the wide range of factors which is already discussed, including the site characteristics such as visibility and access, and the characteristics of trade areas such as demographics and lifestyle segments represented. The third is the analog approach. To develop a regression model, a retailer needs data about the trade area and site characteristics from a large number of stores. Because small chains cannot use the regression approach, they use a similar but more subjective analog approach. When using this analog approach, the retailer simply describes the site and trade area characteristic for its most successful stores and attempts to find a site with similar characteristics. The use of this approach is described in the later illustrations.